May 16th, 1940. Stonne, France. I lost 13 tanks to 1 French crew. 13. In 11 hours, 1 French Char B1 heavy tank versus my entire Panzer battalion. I'm Hauptmann Klaus Richter, 10th Panzer Division, Wehrmacht. May 16th, 1940, Battle of Stonne. The day France surrendered. The day Germany won the Battle of France. But that 1 French tank didn't get the message. The rest of the French army was retreating. White flags flying across the Meuse Valley, officers ordering their men to lay down arms. The battle was over. France had lost. Everyone knew it. Except nobody told that tank crew. They kept fighting. From 0600 hours to 1700 hours. 11 hours. Alone. After everyone else had quit, and they destroyed 13 of my Panzers, killed dozens of my men, held a road junction that should have been defended by an entire regiment, 4 Frenchmen in 1 tank doing what 1,000 soldiers couldn't do. I'm writing this because what happened that day needs to be remembered. Not because we won, we did win, but because sometimes the enemy earned something more valuable than victory. They earn respect. Let me explain what Stonne was. Why it mattered. Why that 1 tank became legendary even among German soldiers who fought there. Stonne was a village in the Ardennes. Small, maybe 300 people. Sat on a strategic height overlooking the Meuse River Valley. Whoever controlled Stonne controlled the roads. And whoever controlled the roads controlled the entire German advance into France. May 1940. We'd just broken through the Ardennes. Everyone said it was impossible, forests too thick, terrain too difficult for tanks. We did it anyway. Blitzkrieg, fast, overwhelming, unstoppable. But Stonne was the problem. French forces kept retaking it. We'd capture the village at dawn. They'd counterattack and take it back by noon. We'd retake it at dusk. They'd attack again at midnight. For 3 days, Stonne changed hands 17 times. 17. More than any other objective in the entire French campaign. It was brutal. House-to-house fighting, tank battles in narrow streets, artillery turning the village into rubble, bodies everywhere. French, German, didn't matter. Everyone was dying at Stonne. By May 15th, we'd finally secured it. The French 3rd Motorized Division was retreating. Their command structure was collapsing. Reports came in, French units surrendering all along the line. The battle was over. May 16th, my orders were simple. Hold Stonne. Consolidate. Prepare for the advance deeper into France. Should have been easy. The French were finished. Then, 0600 hours, 1 French tank appeared on the road leading into Stonne. Char B1 bis, French heavy tank. We knew them. Thick armor, 75mm hull gun, 47mm turret gun, slow but nearly indestructible from the front. Our intelligence said the French had pulled all their armor back, said the road was clear. But there it was, 1 tank, alone, no infantry support, no other tanks, just 1 Char B1 sitting at a road junction 300 meters outside Stonne. I sent a Panzer to investigate. Panzer III, good tank, 37mm gun. Fast, maneuverable. The French tank waited until our Panzer was at 200 meters, then fired, 1 shot. Direct hit. Penetrated the turret. My Panzer exploded, crew dead, 4 men, gone in 1 shot. I realized this wasn't reconnaissance. This was a fighting position. That French tank was dug in, defending the road, refusing to retreat. I sent 3 more Panzers, flanking maneuver, told them to attack from multiple angles. The Char B1's armor was thick in front but thinner on the sides. They advanced. The French tank rotated its hull, fired the 75mm gun, destroyed the 1st Panzer, rotated the turret, fired the 47mm gun, disabled the 2nd Panzer, switched back to the hull gun, destroyed the 3rd. 3 Panzers, gone. In under 5 minutes, and that French tank didn't have a scratch. Our 37mm shells were bouncing off its armor like pebbles. I called up my heavy support. Panzer IV, 75mm gun, better penetration. told them to engage from maximum range. The Panzer IV fired, hit the French tank's frontal armor, no penetration, just sparks. The French tank returned fire, destroyed the Panzer IV with one shot. That was 5 Panzers in the first hour. I repositioned, brought up an 88mm anti-tank gun, Flak 88, the best anti-tank weapon we had. Could penetrate any armor at range. Set it up on high ground overlooking the French tank's position. Perfect angle, clear line of sight. The 88 fired, hit, penetrated the French tank's side armor. I thought, finally, we got them. But the French tank didn't explode, didn't stop. The hit had damaged something. I could see smoke, but the tank was still moving. And then it did something I didn't expect. It charged the 88, drove straight toward the anti-tank gun, through our fire, taking hits, not stopping. The 88 crew tried to reload, too slow. The French tank reached them before they could fire again, drove over the gun, crushed it under 40 tons of steel, crushed the crew, kept driving. I watched through binoculars, couldn't believe it. That tank had just destroyed our best anti-tank weapon by ramming it. By 1000 hours, I'd lost 8 Panzers and 1 88 to 1 French tank. That had been fighting alone for 4 hours. I sent a messenger under white flag, offered them surrender, honorable terms. They'd fought well, no shame in quitting now. The French tank didn't respond, just sat there, engine idling, waiting. 20 minutes later, when I sent another Panzer to probe their position, they opened fire again. Message received, no surrender. I brought up artillery, 105mm howitzers. Can't penetrate thick armor with direct fire, but maybe we could disable the tracks, immobilize it. We fired for 30 minutes, high explosive shells. The French tank disappeared in smoke and debris. When the barrage lifted, the tank was still there, tracks damaged but mobile, and it started moving toward our artillery positions. I ordered the guns to withdraw before the French tank could reach them. We were running from one tank, my entire battalion, being pushed back by 4 Frenchmen. By noon, the French tank had been fighting for 6 hours. Intelligence reported the rest of the French 3rd Motorized Division had retreated 20 kilometers. Their command structure had collapsed. Officers were surrendering, but that tank crew either didn't know or didn't care. I tried everything, sent Panzers in groups. They destroyed them one by one, tried to flank from multiple directions. The French tank would engage one target and destroy it, then rotate to the next, always moving, always fighting. Their tactics were perfect. They used terrain, positioned behind cover, fired and relocated, never stayed in one place long enough for us to concentrate fire. And their gunnery was exceptional. Nearly every shot hit. Nearly every hit destroyed or disabled a target. Around 1400 hours, I noticed something. The French tank's rate of fire had decreased. They were firing less frequently, taking longer between shots. I thought maybe they were running low on ammunition. Sent 2 more Panzers to test them. The French tank destroyed one, disabled the other. But it took them 5 minutes between shots now instead of 1. They were running out of shells. By 1500 hours, the French tank's main gun had gone silent. No more 75mm fire. They were down to the turret gun, 47mm, less powerful. I sent 3 Panzers. They destroyed one with the 47mm gun. Then, silence. No more shots. They were out of ammunition. I sent an officer forward under white flag again. You fought with honor. You have no ammunition. Surrender now with full military honors. The French tank's response was to drive straight at my remaining Panzers. No ammunition. So they were going to ram us. For the next hour, that French tank, out of shells, running low on fuel, tried to physically destroy my vehicles by driving into them. They succeeded twice. Rammed a Panzer III hard enough to crush the engine compartment, rammed a supply truck, destroyed it completely. My men were in disbelief. Sir, they're insane. They have no ammunition and they're still attacking. Not insane, determined. There's a difference. Around 1630 hours, the French tank finally stopped moving. Out of fuel, engine dead, sitting in the middle of the road junction they'd defended all day. I approached with infantry, carefully, expected them to have small arms, maybe grenades. The tank hatch opened. 4 men climbed out, covered in oil, blood, sweat, uniforms torn, faces blackened from cordite and smoke. Their commander, a captain I learned later, stood at attention despite a wound in his shoulder. His crew lined up beside him, all wounded, all exhausted, all standing straight. The captain saluted. In perfect German he said, "Capitaine Pierre Billotte, 41st Tank Battalion, 3rd Armored Division. We fought with honor. We expect to be treated with honor." I saluted back. "Hauptmann Klaus Richter, 10th Panzer Division. You will be." I gave the order to my men. Present arms, full military honors. Treat these prisoners with the respect they've earned. Some of my officers protested. "Sir, they killed dozens of our men, destroyed 13 tanks. They're the enemy." "Exactly," I said, "which is why we honor them. Because they did all of that. 4 men, 1 tank, 11 hours, against all of us." I turned to Capitaine Billotte. "How many men were in your crew?" "4, Herr Hauptmann. Driver, gunner, loader, commander." 4 men held this position for 11 hours? Our orders were to defend this junction. We defended it. Your division retreated at 0800 hours. You were alone after that. We had our orders, Herr Hauptmann. We don't abandon positions just because things become difficult. I had a medic treat their wounds, gave them water, food, let them rest before taking them to the POW collection point. While the medic worked, I talked with Capitaine Billotte, asked him about the battle, about his decisions. "Why didn't you retreat when your division pulled back?" "Because someone had to hold this junction. If we'd left, your panzers would have advanced unopposed. Every hour we held meant more time for French forces to regroup." "You held for 11 hours against my entire battalion." "We did our duty." "You destroyed 13 of my tanks." "Should have been more. We ran out of ammunition." Not boasting, just stating fact. If they'd had more shells, they would have destroyed more of my panzers. Your gunnery was exceptional. Every shot seemed to hit. Our gunner, Sergeant Moreau, he trained at Saumur, best tank school in France. He doesn't miss. I looked at the gunner, young, maybe 23, sitting quietly while the medic bandaged his arm. Didn't look like a man who'd just destroyed 13 tanks. Looked like a kid. "How did you destroy the 88? We had you bracketed. Drove straight at it. Your crew couldn't reload fast enough." "That was suicide. That was necessary. The 88 was the only weapon you had that could penetrate our armor. Eliminate the biggest threat first. Tactical thinking, even in the middle of battle, even facing certain death. They were thinking tactically." "Why didn't you surrender when we offered terms?" Billotte looked at me like I'd asked a stupid question. "Because we still had ammunition, still had fuel, still had fight." "What about when you ran out of ammunition?" "Then we used the tank as a weapon itself." "Ramming my panzers." "Yes? That's insane." "That's resourceful. We had orders to hold the position. We used every tool available." I couldn't argue with that. They'd done exactly what any good soldier would do. Use everything at your disposal, adapt, overcome, fight until you literally cannot fight anymore. "What would you have done if you hadn't run out of fuel?" Billotte smiled, tired but genuine. "Kept fighting, Herr Hauptmann, until you killed us or we ran out of ways to fight. You knew you couldn't win. Winning wasn't the objective. Holding was the objective. We held." He was right. They'd held that junction from 0600 to 1700, 11 hours alone, against everything I'd thrown at them. They'd lost. We'd captured them. But they'd achieved their objective. They'd held. I asked one more question, the one that had been bothering me all day. "Did you know France had surrendered? That the battle was over?" Billotte nodded. "We heard the radio traffic, heard the retreat orders." "Then why keep fighting?" "Because surrender is a choice, Herr Hauptmann. And we chose to fight. Our country may have given up, our division may have retreated, but we had orders to hold this junction, and we're soldiers. Soldiers follow orders, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That answer stayed with me. Still does, 70 years later. Surrender is a choice, and they chose to fight. I had them transported to a POW camp near Sedan, made sure the camp commandant knew they were to be treated well, wrote a report commending their bravery. The report made it up the chain, eventually reached high command. Someone, I don't know who, decided their story should be shared. Within weeks, even German soldiers knew about the French tank crew at Stonne, the 4 men who held a position for 11 hours after their army had quit, who destroyed 13 Panzers with 1 tank, who fought until they literally could not fight anymore. Some of my fellow officers asked why I honored them, why I gave military salute to enemy prisoners. Because they'd earned it. Simple as that. War is brutal. It's about killing the enemy before they kill you. But even in war, there are moments that transcend sides, moments where you recognize that the enemy is not evil or inferior, just soldiers, doing their duty, fighting with everything they have. That's what I saw at Stonne. 4 French soldiers doing their duty against impossible odds, with no hope of victory, just doing what soldiers do, hold the line. After the war, I tried to find out what happened to them. Learned that Capitaine Billotte survived the POW camps, returned to France in 1945, rejoined the French army, fought in Indochina, retired as a colonel. His gunner, Sergeant Moreau, also survived, became a tank instructor after the war, trained the next generation of French tankers. The driver and loader both survived as well, returned to civilian life. All 4 men lived through the war. All 4 went home. I'm glad, because men like that deserve to survive, deserve to live long lives, deserve to tell their grandchildren about the day they fought an entire German battalion with 1 tank and held. I'm writing this in 2010. I'm 93 years old. The war ended 65 years ago. Most of the men who fought at Stonne are dead now, German and French alike. But I want this story preserved. Want people to know what happened on May 16, 1940, at a small road junction outside a village nobody had heard of. 4 French soldiers fought for 11 hours after everyone else had surrendered, destroyed 13 German tanks, held ground against a full battalion, refused to quit even when they ran out of ammunition. They lost. We won. Germany conquered France. But those 4 men, they didn't lose. Because they achieved their objective. They held their position. They did their duty. And they did it with such skill, such courage, such absolute refusal to quit that even their enemies gave them military honors. I've thought a lot about that day over the years, about what it means, about why it matters. I think it matters because it shows that courage isn't about winning. It's about doing your duty even when you know you can't win. It's about fighting with honor even when honor seems pointless. It's about refusing to quit even when quitting is the smart choice. Capitaine Billotte and his crew could have retreated at 0800 hours when their division pulled back. Nobody would have blamed them. Their country had surrendered. The battle was over. But they stayed because they had orders, because someone had to hold that junction, because surrender is a choice and they chose to fight. That's courage, real courage, not the Hollywood kind where the hero wins against all odds. The real kind where you fight, knowing you'll lose, but you fight anyway, because it's your duty. Germany won the Battle of France. We conquered Paris, occupied the country for 4 years. We won. But I'll never forget the 4 Frenchmen who beat us for 11 hours, who showed us that defeat isn't about who conquers territory. It's about who gives up first. They never gave up, not when their country surrendered, not when their division retreated, not when they ran out of ammunition, not when they ran out of fuel. They fought until they physically could not fight anymore, until their tank wouldn't move and they had nothing left to use as weapons. That's what it means to be a soldier. Not the victory, the refusal to quit. I gave them military honors on May 16, 1940, because they'd earned them. Because even though they were my enemies, they were also my brothers in arms. Soldiers recognizing soldiers. Some things transcend sides. Some acts of courage are so pure, so absolute, that they demand respect even from those who fought against them. The French tank crew at Stonne taught me that. 4 men, 1 tank, 11 hours, against all odds, against their own high command surrender, against an entire German battalion. They held, they fought, they never quit. And for that, they earned something more valuable than victory. They earned immortality, not in history books. Most people have never heard of Stonne, but in the memories of every German soldier who fought there, who watched 4 Frenchmen do the impossible. We conquered France, but we never conquered them. Capitaine Pierre Billotte died in 2001 at age 90. I read his obituary in a French military journal. It mentioned Stonne, mentioned the 11 hours, mentioned the 13 German tanks. I wish I could have seen him again, told him that I still remembered, that what he did mattered, that his courage changed how I thought about war, about enemies, about what it means to be a soldier. But I think he knew, because when he climbed out of that tank, wounded and exhausted and defeated, he stood at attention. He saluted. He claimed honor. And I gave it to him, because he'd earned it. Some battles aren't won by the side that takes the objective. They're won by the side that refuses to quit, by the soldiers who do their duty, no matter the cost. On May 16, 1940, 4 French soldiers won that kind of victory, the kind that lasts longer than conquest, the kind that earns respect from enemies, the kind that matters. I'm proud to have fought against them, proud to have witnessed their courage, proud to have given them the honors they deserved. And I'm writing this so that future generations know sometimes the greatest victories come in defeat. Sometimes the bravest soldiers are the ones who lose, but only if they fight with honor, only if they refuse to quit, only if they do their duty to the very end. That's what Capitaine Billotte and his crew did. That's what made them immortal, not in history books, but in the memory of one German officer who learned that day what true courage looks like. Subscribe for more untold stories of courage that transcended victory and defeat, where honor earned respect even from the enemy.